What's up? Welcome to part 3. Again, hopping right into it. So, the entire time all this stuff was happening, I was jumping from home to home to home. Oh, small story I forgot to tell you, by the way. I got scammed for $1,800 because when I was living at my friend's parents' place and they were telling me that I needed to get out soon, I started applying everywhere I could find, like rental applications, and I found this great deal. It's a studio, or it's like a 1-bed, 1-bath unit in a decent part of town, close enough to work that I could drive there regularly. Came with a parking spot, that was important, and I applied right away. And here's the thing: when you're in a desperate situation, you don't think straight. So they were asking me, or no, here's what happened. They were telling me that due to COVID, they were not allowing showings in the property. And that's fine, right? I was like, okay, there's some elderly people in the building maybe, there's some at-risk people, they don't want a lot of traffic coming in and out. So I was like, that's fine. They sent me some photos and I was like, okay, cool, this is a real place. And then while I was negotiating and talking to the owner, they tell me that they have another interested party and that I need to make a deposit on the property now to lock it up so that they don't give it to this other interested party. And that was a huge red flag, right? There was a lot of red flags when I was talking to this person. One, they barely spoke English, right? It was very broken English, and every time I tried to call them, I couldn't get them on the phone. Everything was done through text or email. Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. Never do what I did. This was so stupid. But again, when you're in a desperate situation, you're just trying to get out, you're just trying to find a spot, you'll fall for all kinds of stuff, right? And red flag number 3, it was a Craigslist listing. Anyway, point being, I gave them the deposit and first month's rent. And then a couple days later, I'm like, okay, so I'm supposed to be moving in 2 weeks. Oh, red flag number 4, by the way, when I went to the bank to send them the wire transfer, they were like, this account is brand new, right? The account that I was sending the money to, they're like, are you sure you want to send the money to these people? Because if you send the money, we have no way to insure it. There's no way for you to get it back. And I was like, what do I got to lose? What do I got to lose at this point? Just send the money. $1,800. $1,800. Sent it. Gone. Poof. And then they start telling me that they need another deposit. And I was like, wait, something's not right here. So here's what I did. I looked up the address that they were advertising the property was at, and the unit didn't even exist. The attorney that they had listed under the paperwork wasn't a real attorney, and their number, their practice number, wasn't even attached to the document. So many red flags. And I fell for all of them. And people say I'm smart. I don't know why. Anyway, so while all this was happening, I was continuing with my real estate, and I was learning a lot. Because here's the thing that I'm learning about the velocity of money. And velocity, leverage, those are 2 very, very, very important things to understand when you're trying to build wealth. Because here's how I see people invest in real estate all the time. They work. And work. And then they spend all of their own money, hard-earned money, to buy a rental property. Now, here's the thing when you buy a rental property. Let's say the property is worth $100,000. Just nice, easy, round numbers. When you buy an investment property and you get a bank loan on it, because you're not living in the property, the bank wants you to put about 25% of the property value into the property as a down payment. So if the property is $100,000, 25% of that is $25,000. You need to make and have put aside $25,000 to buy one rental property. But that's not it. That's not just it, because there's not just a down payment, there's also closing costs. There's all kinds of all these fees that you have to pay in addition to that. Here's another mistake I see people make when they invest in real estate. They see a property and they say, oh wow, the mortgage payment, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, is $1,000. And I'll get $1,500 in rent. I'm making $500 in cash flow. No, you're not. Because guess what? If you're buying an investment property from another investor, you're probably going to need to get rid of the tenants, and then once the tenants are gone, no one's paying your rent, right? So that's called a vacancy expense. Another thing, homes need to be repaired. If you're not going to be a slumlord at least, right? So a new roof can run you money. New windows will run you money. Repainting the property, new flooring, new water heater, new plumbing, new electrical, right? There's all kinds of expenses that come with having a property. So that's another expense that you need to account for. Let's say you decide to buy 30 properties. Let's just say you're a real hard worker, you make a lot of money, you're from California, whoop-de-doo, you got 30 properties. Are you gonna manage all 30 properties by yourself? I hope not, right? We're talking about scalability. You're gonna have to find someone on your team to help manage those properties for you. Well, when someone manages your property, they're gonna wanna get paid, dummy. So a lot of the time they take 10% of your monthly rent. What's 10% of $1,000? Or 10% of $1,500? 150 bucks. So you look at $1,000 mortgage, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, $1,500 in rent, and you think $500 of cash flow. After all expenses, you would probably not be making any money on that property after all said and done, because you need to set the money aside for repairs, you need to set the money aside for vacancy, you need to set the money aside for all kinds of hidden fees and expenses and property management. So don't be that person. Anyway, so you buy one property, you put all $25,000, not even including closing costs, attorneys, and title, and like agent fees. Like there's all kinds of different fees that comes with buying a property. You're not just paying $25,000. And you're getting your $500 a month in cash flow. $500 a month, more like maybe $100. How long do you have to save up to buy the next property? How long till you get the next $25,000? So think about it this way. How much easier would it be to scale up a real estate portfolio if you just had $1 million sitting around in your bank account? Just $1 million bucks. Just $1 million. Small loan. You could move a lot faster if you just have that lump sum of cash, right? If you didn't have to save up that money, property after property after property, things would move a lot faster. So doesn't it make more sense to do something that gets you a lump sum of cash and stockpile the cash, and then once you have more cash than you know what to do with, you use your excess cash to buy a property? Doesn't that make sense? And then not only that, but you buy the property for 25, whatever. We'll talk about that, because you don't even need to spend $25,000 if you do it right. You spend that cash to buy the property, and then you still have cash reserves in case something goes wrong. If that tenant does move out and they're not paying rent for 6 months, you got money set aside. It's not going to bankrupt you. You'll be fine, right? And if you want to buy another property, all you have to do is go make more money. I think the biggest mistake I see people make when it comes to money is that they keep trying to save money. Everyone wants to spend as little as possible instead of trying to find ways to make extra income. You can only cut your expenses back so much before your quality of life just starts to decrease exponentially. It's like, oh yeah, you can save 50 bucks a month in gas if you cut out your commute and just ride your bike. It's like, oh yeah, but I live 50 miles away. Who cares? Just wake up 2 hours early, ride your bike in the snow. You'll save 50 bucks. It's worth it, right? Is that really the kind of lifestyle that you want to have? So your priority needs to be about finding out how can you make more money. And so what people do not seem to understand about real estate investing is that as a real estate investor, it's good to have a lot of tools in your toolbox. And I understand a lot of people will not understand what I'm talking about here, but that's okay for now. I'm gonna post a lot more videos breaking all these different things down, and when you get it, come back to this video and you'll understand the point I'm trying to make. You need to be able to make enough money to be able to make money. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, your priority should not be buying an investment property. Your priority should be, how can I double my income? How can I triple my income? Because until you're making enough money, there's no reason to invest it. If you have 500 extra bucks a month, I mean, it's tough. If you need 25,000 and you're only making 500 a month, so you need to figure out, how can I increase the amount of money coming into my bank account? That's not me saying blow all your extra cash because YOLO, lifestyle, live a great lifestyle, right? There has to be a balance, but at the same time, think more about, how can I make more, right? So that being said, I decided, instead of buying an investment property, I was going to flip a couple houses. Because a good flip, you will generally profit about 15% of the sales price. So using our $100,000 example, if you flip a house and it sells for 100 grand, you can expect to make minimum of $15,000. Flip 2 houses and you got your $25,000 right there. So you flip 2 houses and then buy one. Flip 2, buy one. Flip 2, buy one. You just keep going over and over and over again. But here's another thing. Okay, I'm going to be a house flipper. How am I going to buy the house? Right? A lot of the homes that you want to flip, you have to buy them cash. And if you're buying a property cash, you don't just need the cash to buy the house, you also need the cash to renovate the house. So if you go on YouTube, you'll find something called hard money lending. You can get a hard money loan. And the point of the hard money lender is to finance the purchase price as well as the rehab costs for a property, right? So that saves you having to do the work. However, in order to get a hard money loan, you need to pay the hard money lender. So I remember I was looking at properties and I was thinking to myself, this hard money lender wants me to give him 50 grand to buy a house worth 100 grand. And I'm sitting here thinking like, what? Well, why do I have to give you $50,000 to buy a property that's going to sell for $150,000, $200,000? So people like to talk about hard money loans like they're this magic bullet, and if you do it right, they can be. But hard money loan might not be all that it cracks out to be. Here's another thing. I was under contract with the property. I've been putting in about 3 to 5 offers a day on different homes, and I got a property under contract Southside Chicago. I got my inspection done, I got my appraisal done, I had multiple contractors lined up, ready to go. When I got to the closing table, and the closing table just means that buyer and seller are in agreement, the lender is ready to go, title company, everybody is ready to go, I can go ahead and buy this property and start the flip. My hard money lender said, oh, you know what? I think we see some structural issues with this property. We're gonna add $10,000. Just give us an extra 10 grand as like as an escrow deposit, meaning they're gonna hold my money. And if I need that money, it's already set aside for me. But if I don't need the money, they'll give it back to me later, right? But they casually, the day that I was supposed to purchase this property, they casually told me, by the way, you're gonna need an extra 10 grand to buy this thing. And I was like, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? And that's when I realized, control. If I can't keep control of my means of acquisition, that's a problem, right? That's breaking one of the 5 commandments that I talked about in the last video. Not only that, but I didn't have an extra 10 grand. I mean, well, I had it, but I wasn't gonna give it to him. Thankfully, luckily for me, the basement flooded on the property. And so I was able to walk away because I was no longer gonna be able to purchase it in the condition that I had it under contract for. Not only that, but I was under contract for this property for about 3 to 4 months. That is extremely unusual, but that's neither here nor there. The point I'm trying to make with all this is that there's a lot of people on YouTube that talk about these different concepts, and they make it seem like it's not that difficult. They make it seem like it's very straightforward. They make it seem like anybody can do it. Anyone can do it. But I've talked to a lot of people who act first and think later. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can get in trouble very, very quickly. Very quickly. Let me tell you about a story. 29-year-old investor in Texas bought a property with a hard money loan. The lender has never lended on a property in the neighborhood he was flipping in. It was his first flip. He hired a contractor. The contractor stole materials from him, right? Set him back about 3 months. And he had to pay the price of the materials out of pocket. Second contractor gets the work done on time. All right, everything's good, ready to go. He goes to sell the property. He thinks he could sell for about $250,000. No one's biting. Lowers the price, $240,000. Nobody's biting. He's now at the point where he's in foreclosure with the hard money lender because he ran out of money and he borrowed $15,000 from one of his friends, and he could no longer sell the property for enough to pay everybody back. These are the kind of people that I talk to on a regular basis. So if you're gonna get into real estate investing, slow down, slow down. It's exciting on paper, but it's terrifying if you make a wrong move. It's very, very punishing. So you have to be careful, all right? I can make more videos touching upon all this stuff later, but I'm gonna leave it here for now because I know it's a lot of information. But anyway, that's all I really got for you today. I appreciate the time you took, and until next time.